We got up early this morning, we headed out to the garden, we got a bunch of work done, but we lost track of time. We were out there a good 3 hours, and all of a sudden we're like, oh my gosh, it's 9 o'clock, and we haven't let any of the animals out yet. They're all still in their houses, so we're gonna bring you guys along. Let's go check on all the animals.
We're gonna start off by opening up our turkey brooder. They're still too small to be let out in their open pen area. It's too easy for the overhead predators to get to them, so they're still living primarily in the brooder. But we have kind of a screen door that we put over the door to let in the breeze, and there's a window that's open as well. They're getting pretty big though. Good morning, turkey babies. So they're doing really well and growing really nicely. They all look very healthy. There are two breeds that we're raising this year. One is the broad-breasted white, which is a hybrid, fast-growing kind of turkey that will be ready for processing by Thanksgiving, maybe even before Thanksgiving. And then we're raising blue slate turkeys, which are a heritage turkey that we plan on keeping here full-time on the homestead. They will breed naturally. So the females will lay eggs and hopefully brood them and hatch them out on their own, so we can be repopulating our turkeys so that we can have some for the freezer from now on. They're doing so well and growing really well. They all look very healthy. With the broad-breasted whites, we're hoping for mostly males because they get bigger and will provide us more meat. And it looks like maybe more than half of them are males, so that's good. With the blue slate, however, we're hoping for more females than males so that they will produce more eggs and will produce more babies for us. And I can't tell right now with the blue slates if we're going to have more females or males, but we're having a really good time with them and they're looking really good.
We really are enjoying having a smaller flock of chickens. Now we let them free range, they can go anywhere they want on our property, and we really enjoy just we're down to 6 chickens now. We still have the 9 ducks and quail, so we're getting a lot of eggs, just not all chicken eggs, but we really enjoy it. Morning, chickens. All right, let's let the ducks out before the chickens eat all of the food. These days we're feeding the chickens and the ducks together. They seem to get along just fine. And I bet you guys can't even tell the baby ducks from the grown-up ducks anymore. They're all exactly the same size.
We haven't done an update on the baby rabbits in a while. Today they're 3 weeks old, which means that I can take the nesting box out of their rabbit tractor. Now, we've never raised baby rabbits in a rabbit tractor before. This is the first time we've ever let a mama have her babies in a nesting box in a rabbit tractor. Normally when we raise rabbits, we have all of the breeding and the births and the first 5 weeks of the baby's lives up in cages off the ground in one of our barns. So this is the very first time we've ever worked it like this. and it has gone really well. We're very surprised and we're very pleased. They're doing really well, and they're starting to eat pellets, and they're starting to eat the grass and test those things out, which is really important for rabbits that are going to be raised on the ground, that the babies have exposure to the food and the fresh foliage before they're just put down on the ground. So this has kind of made that process really just seamless and effortless. But let's take a look at how they're doing. There are a couple other important things that we need to do today as well, but let's see what they're doing. They are definitely eating the pellets like the mom. That is exciting. We started out with 5 baby bunnies. We still have 5 baby bunnies, so that is awesome. Because the baby bunnies are 3 weeks old, I can take out their nesting box. If you leave it in there with them much longer than that, they'll start just using it as a litter box. They're barely using it at all anymore because they feel safe down here, and it's actually pretty warm for them to be in their nesting box. And that's the other thing I wanted to talk with you about today, is that it's getting pretty hot here. Today the high is 93, and with the heat index and the humidity, it's going to feel about 100 degrees. Now, rabbits do best in cold weather, but they do survive in the heat. In fact, we used to raise rabbits in the Phoenix area. Even in the hot summers, they were able to survive. We just needed to try really hard to keep them cool. So today I'm going to prepare this rabbit tractor to be more cool than it is right now, and I'm just going to go over some of the things that I'm going to do. Stay down, Mama. The first thing I need to do is to move this rabbit tractor from this location over to some fresh grass. Not only will that be good for them to eat, but the grass is cooler for them to lay on. But the babies are so little that if I move it right now, they'll actually slip through the wire that's on the bottom. The wire on the bottom is 2 inches by 4 inches, and these babies will easily slip out from underneath there. So I need to temporarily take them out and put them somewhere safe. I'm actually going to put them just in a bucket because they can't jump out of there, and quickly move the rabbit tractor from this location over one spot and put them back in. You're okay. Okay. Take them out. Close this up. Move this. Mama knows how to ride on the rabbit tractor. Now normally we move these rabbit tractors every day to give them fresh grass, but because the babies have been in here and been so little, we haven't moved them every day. There you go. You can probably just come out this way. There. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wet down some of the grass here. By wetting down the grass and wetting down the dirt underneath it, it creates a cooler environment for the rabbits to lay down on. This rabbit tractor has shade above it the entire length of the tractor, so that's good for them. They'll be in mostly shade all day. And these side areas here that are covered in metal, that also helps with the sun as it's rising from the east and setting in the west. And that's actually why we have these rabbit tractors faced in this direction. It blocks the sun, the rising sun, and blocks the setting sun here, so they always have a nice shaded area. So I'm going to fill this bucket with some water and then pour it in there. I don't want to scare them too much with the sound of the hose in their pen area. Before I'm done, I'm going to take this, Before I'm done, I'm going to take this T-post and I'm just going to lay it across the top here so that when I shut the lid, it creates a little bit of space there. That way, as the heat rises, it doesn't get trapped by the metal roofing here. It has a way to escape so it doesn't hover inside the rabbit tractor. That helps with the airflow to blow that hot air out. In extreme heat conditions, we can bring out ice and either put ice cubes on the grass for them to lay on top of and lick and cool down. But we also freeze water bottles full of water and put them in there as well. They can lick them and lay on them, or move them away and lay on the ground that has cooled down. It's not going to be quite that hot today, but we also have that as an option if it starts getting super, super hot. Now that the morning chores are done with, there's a couple more things that we need to get done in the garden. We took a little bit of a break to get the chores done with the animals, and before it gets really hot, I want to do a couple things in here. So come on in here and I'll tell you what I'm doing. We've talked with you guys about the struggles we're having in the garden this year. Like no other year, we just feel like we're getting hit with everything, and it's just been kind of nonstop. But we're not ready to give up yet. These cantaloupe plants, they've suffered from cucumber beetles, squash beetles, and now the squash vine borers. And we've lost both plants in some of the holes here. So we do have time yet before we get to the end of the growing season, before we get to like frost time, that we do still have some time to replant. So there are some cantaloupe plants that we're going to be reseeding, some watermelon plants, and cucumbers. This will be the third time that we've planted cucumbers in the garden this season. We just keep losing them. You might hear thunder. We've had heat and humidity, which is producing some pop-up storms. So on and off today, we may have thunderstorms. We've actually had one already move through this morning while we were eating breakfast. We planted two different types of heirloom variety cantaloupe in the garden here. And so when we're replanting, we're actually planting a third variety. We just picked it up at Walmart. There's some burpee seeds. This cantaloupe is called Honey Rock cantaloupe. It doesn't say whether it's a hybrid or whether it's an heirloom. At this point, I don't really care. I just want some cantaloupe to succeed. So I'm just gonna go through these empty holes, pick out any weeds that are in there, and then plant two more seeds and hope that they come up, and hopefully they provide us some fruit. I can't believe that I'm planting seeds in the middle of July for a summer harvest, but like I said, I'm not ready to give up. The watermelon plants that have survived are doing really well, and they're starting to sprawl out like this. But there are a couple empty spots here that I'm going to fill up. Again, we were looking at Walmart and decided to get another variety of watermelons just from there. And I picked up Crimson Sweet watermelon. It says that they're disease resistant. While, that won't help us with vine borers, it might help us with anything that the cucumber beetles would spread to them. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in the holes with the Crimson Sweet. We've had this kind of watermelon before and they are good, so I'm not worried about not liking them. This watermelon is an 80-day watermelon, and we do have that amount of time left in the season. So we just are going to get these going. At this part of the summer, the weeds just get kind of crazy and out of control. But since we are using this woven weed fabric, the ground cover, woven ground cover, look at how amazing that is. We would never be able to keep up with weeds to this extent at all, especially not in the middle of summer. This is pretty amazing. Last up are the cucumbers. Our only remaining plant from the first planting is hanging in there, but it's not looking amazing. It did give us one cucumber the other day, and the seeds that I planted on the second planting, they're doing fine in the spots that they're still surviving, but there are about 4 or 5 holes that don't have any plants left in them. So third planting for the Market More cucumbers.
Well, Sarah got done planting those seeds just in time. As soon as we got done planting them, a huge storm rolled in. We got over 2 inches of rain in just over 2 hours. So luckily we made it back in the house with our camera and everything before that time.
But now we're out here to, we have a confession.
So we're back by the pigs, and you'll see here's their enclosure behind me, but what's missing? There's no pigs. Now, they didn't run away, so don't worry about that. But if you watched our 4th of July video, you saw that we let them out of their training pen into their big 1/4 acre electric fence enclosure that we have for them.
And it was going so well. The entire time we were filming, they were having a great time. They never tested the fence. And later on that evening, we came out to check on them, and we saw the little one sneak right underneath a low spot in the ground and sneak out of the fenced area.
Yeah, the one that we're calling Pee-wee is the one that I could have told you was going to be a troublemaker, but I didn't really think that she would try to get out, but she did. We were luckily able to kind of raise the fence back up and chase her back in, but it made us realize that at least that one wasn't trained. Now, the other 2 pigs wouldn't go anywhere near the fence. Even when they saw her get out, they wouldn't go anywhere near the fence. So I'm confident that those other 2 pigs are trained, but we couldn't take the chance of leaving them all out. So for the last week, we've had them back in their training pen, and we've made some improvements to the fence that we're going to show you now. So the very first thing that I did to make the fence even better for the pigs is I added a 3rd strand of electric wire. It's still really not any taller than it was before, but this 3rd strand creates more of a visual barrier for the pigs. And then what I did is I went back through and I really checked the fence everywhere. You know, last year our pigs just never even attempted to get out, so I wasn't overly concerned about the height being perfect everywhere, and I probably should have been. That really was my fault as much as it is the pig's fault for getting out. So I added a lot more of these white fiberglass posts, and I really went through every little part of the fence, making sure that our strands of wire were at the appropriate height. What we have is a strand at 6 inches, 9 inches, and 12 inches, which should be fine for the pigs. But in some of the areas, when I went back through and looked, I noticed that really our lowest strand was at 10 inches or more off the ground, which just created, I think, too much of an opportunity for the pigs to get out, especially that one that just really didn't seem to be very trained on the fence yet. So I added a lot more of these posts. I went through, I remeasured everything, I added the 3rd strand, and then I also made sure that our wires are a lot tighter than they were before, I added an extra inline tightener on one end of the fence so that I was able to pull these really tight, so that if they do try to go under, it's a lot harder to push that wire up. So let's go over to their training pen and I'll show you what I did over there to hopefully get them trained even better than they were before. So you can see that they're back in their pen. I've redone the electric wire inside their pen as well. I've put 3 strands of electric wire in there so it looks exactly like it does around their big enclosure. I've also moved it further away from the sides of their pen. Before I had it very close to the sides of their pen. Now I've moved it probably a good foot away from the sides of their pen. That gives them an even, it kind of makes it more psychological, like they know they should be able to go all the way to the fence, but now they can't. They feel like they want to, but they know they can't. And so I have noticed them test that a lot more when I first put them back in. I haven't seen them testing it at all now in a while. The third thing that I did is I disconnected the energizer, the fence charger, from the main fence, and I only have it charging the fence inside their pen. The reason I did that is because now the fence inside their pen is a lot stronger than it would be if it was connected to the entire thing. These pigs need to learn a lesson, and the best way to do that is to make it not hurt, but give them a little bit bigger shock while they're still inside their pen, so that hopefully the next time we let them out, they won't even want to go near the fence out here. So you can see the pigs are hopefully learning another lesson. We're hoping to be able to let them out again within just the next couple days. I really don't want them penned up in their training pen any longer than we need to. It's a much better environment for them to be out and be able to be more free.
The training for the goats is going really well. I actually didn't bring them over into their area today that has the electric fence because it was raining so hard and they don't have shelter where they're at and they really don't like to get wet. So they were just in their normal pen area today, but it's going really well. They have never gotten out and they actually aren't even trying to get out. So I think that their training has been successful, and so I'm excited that we'll be able to soon turn our attention to building their big enclosure out here in the woods so they can just move out here.
Right. Yeah, but everything we've read is that goats are by far the hardest animal to train on electric fence. So it's been a long process to get them used to it, especially since they're already older and they haven't been raised with it. But I'm telling you guys, the more that you can train animals to respect an electric fence, the easier your life will be, because you can set up paddocks in no time and be able to move them around. It costs, probably 25% of what it costs to do things with regular fencing, and it just makes your life so much easier. So that's why it's such a high priority for us to use electric fence as much as possible for all of our animals.
So you guys, thanks so much for spending some time with us today. We're going to end the video at this point because there's more rain coming. But thanks for joining us in the garden and letting out the animals and allowing us to confess that, you know what, not everything is perfect here on our homestead.
Nope.
Things go wrong here too. So if you're not a subscriber yet and you're enjoying what we are presenting to you, thank you so much, and hit the subscribe button before you go. Share it with people who are like-minded. And until next time, thank you so much for stopping by the homestead. Take care and God bless.
God bless.